session. So we got Noah with us. Now, like when we do property, as Alfred also mentioned, that property, you have to wait for 7 months. And once you acquire a property, you stay with that property for rest of your life. And you have two things, cash flow and appreciation. But a lot of things can go wrong, as Alfred has already mentioned. And Noah is the person who's going to put light on it. So when things go wrong, what are the things we can do in advance to protect us as investors, developers, or if you're in property or a beginner or you have a big portfolio, when things go wrong, let it be a tenant, let it be a property itself, let it be some kind of damage or something goes wrong, what should be done? So this is what we say, not reactive, but proactive measures to protect your assets, your property. So that's what Noah is going to take you through. Noah is a director of Noah Arc, and he also has he kind of develops leaders, he trains leaders, and he has a franchisee model across UK. And I think from what I know is he's the fastest growing insurance franchisee in UK. So I really see his passion is kind of energy, and he's always a giver. Whenever I pick up the call, he will always make sure that he'll ask about how things are going, how is the business going, what he can do for me. He will make sure that I'm comfortable. He will just run the product in detail with me. And any questions I have, crazy questions I have, he will take patiently answer those questions. So I can see how he look after his clients, his businesses, and I'm sure he's going to add a great value with us for us this evening. So on that note, I'm going to invite Noah to our virtual platform. Noah, are you with us?
Thank you very, very much. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. I hope you're all doing really well. I am enjoying the show, but multitasking as well at the same time. The first speaker was amazing, a lot of information, a lot of insight, a lot of things that I was able to actually learn from his talk, essentially. But like I said, I'm running an office at the same time with busy consultants, the phone ringing here and there. So I'm doing my best to juggle, which we have to do, obviously, as entrepreneurs. So thank you very much, first and foremost, Jito and everybody, as part of Project Possible, for this opportunity to come on and discuss very briefly. This will be a very short presentation. The slides are very short. I tend to be a little bit different from most presenters in the sense I don't talk as much. I'm not shy. It's just, I want to get the message out there as quick as possible in a way that you can understand. I welcome some questions, of course, at the end of the slides. But essentially, the idea is I just want to be able to give some value, some information to the community in respects to what I do. So first and foremost, I'll just introduce myself. My name is Noah Laguda. I am one of 8 regional directors for the biggest and largest insurance intermediary broker in the whole of the United Kingdom called Unisure. Not only does Unisure facilitate insurance policies across a wide range of fields, we also do deal with many aspects of finance. We also do deal with commercial financing for properties, development finance, and a lot of other things of that nature as well. So we do have a lot of tools that we use to our disposal to help different aspects of the needs of our clients. In relation to myself, I'm a specialist insurance advisor. I've been in the industry for almost 5 years now, and rose up the ranks just through hard work, through dedication, through drive, and just because I really saw that there was a gap in the market in relation to insurance, not only in my community, but in many others. So by training myself, highly skilled, I was able to give a lot of value, presented to thousands of people all over the UK, and able to build teams upon teams into the hundreds. And of course, earned my regional directorship back in 2019. And then since then, I've obviously developed my own limited company, Noah Shore Limited, which is now kind of the barnstorm, pushing that through in relation to insurance. We have employees now. We have many different things that we're doing in my office in Canary Wharf. 50-man office space that I have here that I run in South Key. And it's just been going from strength to strength, really, to be fair, because we've been able to make insurance fun, which is something people tend not to sort of want to engage or talk about, really, is insurance. But we've been able to make it fun, make it lively, make it something that people actually engage with and understand, most importantly, the importance of it. And yeah, fully regulated by the FCA and the PRA, our regulatory bodies. And yes, so before I talk anymore, I'll go straight into the presentation. Okay, brilliant. So the first product that I want to talk to you about, so primarily today, essentially, I'm not going to talk too much about the personal aspects of insurance that I mainly facilitate, but I will talk about the aspects in relation to property insurances. Now, whether it's a buy-to-let property or residential property that you've bought, you need building insurance. If you are a freeholder of the property, of course. And if you're buying, obviously, a house, semi-detached, terraced, mid-terraced, whatever it is, and some types of converted flats and bungalows and different aspects of the, these are freehold properties, essentially. And if you are the freeholder, you would need a building insurance on the building, because should anything happen to the building, should a fire, should a flood, should a thunderstorm smash the roof, whatever it may be, you are liable. And the building, the exterior of the building, costs a lot of money to repair on damage. So having a building insurance, especially with accidental damage attached to it, will give you a fantastic amount of protection against natural cause, against accidental stuff, you name it. So it's extremely vital. In fact, a lot of mortgage companies, probably all, will not actually let you complete without having a building insurance in place. They need to make sure that the money that they're lending you, essentially safeguarded by the insurance, that if anything happened to the property, you would get the property rebuilt, or a cash lump sum to rebuy, or whatever, to pay off the lender their money and do whatever else you got to do. So buying a building insurance is not only vital, but it's somewhat legal and mandatory as well. So if you are a homeowner or a property owner in the UK and you do not have the building insurance, you need to get in touch with myself immediately, because you are putting yourself in a very precarious situation, possibly. Brilliant. Now, what usually goes sometimes alongside building insurance is something called content insurance. Now, content insurance works two different ways. So as a residential owner of a property, you will definitely need content insurance, because as you can see in the picture there, you got fantastic sofas, you got all this furniture, looks really nice. But what happens if a flood happens? If a flood happens and it damages the rugs, damages the flooring, damages the sofa, what happens if a fire was to happen inside the property, damages everything, or even a burglary as well. If someone burgled your home and turned that beautiful looking home upside down, then do you do? You're left with the bill if you don't have a content insurance. So it's extremely important to make sure that all of your valuables within the home are covered. As you can see, not just the stuff that you can see, but in general, content insurance even goes so much deeper. Because remember, you've got fridge, freezers, washing machines, dishwashers, you name it. The list goes on and on and on and on. So having a content insurance does usually safeguard all of your personal belongings and things within the home against accidental damage, including your TVs, including laptop, things of that nature as well, for up to £75,000. So content insurance is extremely important as a residential owner. It's also important, not necessarily more for landlords, because you're not living in the property. So usually if it's unfurnished, you wouldn't really bother about that. But if you have furnished a property and there's valuable things in there that you've left for the tenant to occupy, I would definitely say encourage them to maybe take a content insurance, or you take one out yourself to protect your belongings, whichever way. So that's something I definitely obviously would always advise. And again, this is something that I can help with. So if you have tenants that are moving into your properties, if you do not have the content insurance, if you've taken out the building, that's fine. Why not refer them over to me? Yeah, so that we can actually put a content insurance in place to protect their content, because some of them might not even be aware of how to do it, what's available, and they don't see the priority. If they've got stuff in there that needs to be protected against a fire, theft, or a flood, it needs to be covered. It needs to be protected. So I definitely would advise a content insurance for residential owners of a property, and also for tenants of a buy to let property as well. And there's many add-ons that we can put in there for valuable items like watches, necklaces, jewelry, that kind of thing. Very, very good one. Yeah, so now what we can also do as well is bolting something called home emergency cover. This is also very important as insurance. I know with our boilers, we can get sort of insurances separately from British Gas and the providers, as it were. But with some of the providers that I use, for example, we can bolt in for a small fee home emergency cover, which won't necessarily cover your boiler exclusively, but what it does is actually covers some aspects of damage to the boiler, and also different aspects of the property against an emergency. So a burst of pipes, water mains, if the toilet got flooded, that kind of stuff. Now, as a property owner, if you solely own the property, and you're have any kind of sort of home emergency cover on there, you're liable if something like that happens. Obviously, the tenant's going to call you, and then you might have to either go there or call a plumber or whatever. The call out fees, you name it, are very, very expensive. So having a home emergency bolted into your policy can help to mitigate any kind of unforeseen emergencies that could occur, that may not necessarily be a big deal, but it could actually cost you a lot of money in the long run if you don't have a home emergency cover. So I definitely would say things like boilers, heating systems, hot water in the house. Like I said, if the water pipes burst, if there was a problem with the drainage, that kind of stuff for home emergency is there. It can also cover things. There's many different things it can cover. So I'll definitely say that is something that's also very important to have a look at if you're a property owner. Lovely. The next slide talks about legal expenses. Legal expenses plays its part when we have those tenants that don't want to leave the house, and we've got to take them to court, and we've got to, fight for our rights and all that kind of stuff as property owners. It can be a very stressful period. It can be very difficult. They may even decide to take us to court because they felt they were unfairly evicted, whatever it may be. Now, it can be quite a costly bill going to court. So we definitely would say have legal expenses insurance added in to your buildings and contents on your home emergency or whatever else, because it then provides you with a safety net of costs that the insurer would pay if ever you had to go to court because of a tenant that didn't want to leave the house, or because there's a dispute that went on. Maybe something got damaged within the property that you thought was the tenant's fault, but it wasn't, or it was, or whatever. Legal expenses helps to fit the bill if you've got to go to court regarding your property. Because let's face it, you've paid a lot of money for this property. You've done a lot of work to get this asset. Don't sort of let costs spiral out of the roof and start eating into the profits that you obviously have made or desire to make, because you didn't have something like that in place. Legal expenses cover. Next slide, please, Jutta. Rent guarantee insurance, light bulb moment. Obviously, during the pandemic, the insurers took this off the market. They were not offering this anymore because we had, very difficult situations during the pandemic. People were not able to pay their rent, etc., etc., etc. So there was claims going through the roof. So the insurers stopped that straight away. They stopped offering it. But the good news, light bulb, it's back again. They are offering rent guarantee insurance again to landlords who take out building insurance. And you can also add it in if it's just a content as well. But building insurance and content, you can add your rent guarantee, which means that if a tenant fails to make their payments, you can make a claim to reimburse yourself or the business back for loss of rent. So this is I mean, I've said it all the time, and Jito knows, this is imperative to have, because we're not just talking about a pandemic, we're talking about anything, could happen where a tenant doesn't pay you the rent and it becomes difficult, you're losing money, you name it, whatever, and it falls on you. So if you have a rent guarantee insurance, one quick call to the insurer, explain the situation to them. They might ask for some evidence to find out what's going on. And lo and behold, they start obviously making monthly payments until we can either get that tenant out or whatever it is, and you get somebody back in. But yeah, rent guarantee insurance, extremely vital and important, especially in these times that we're living in. And a lot of people may think they don't need it. Yeah, it's right. You may not need it now, but there may come a time when you will. And if you will, are you able to, cushion the blow of losing rent for a very long period of time? Fantastic. So coming towards the end of the presentation now, I told you I won't be long. Hope I'm not talking too fast, but I will answer some questions, of course, at the end. So this is a life insurance and critical illness cover. Classic mistake I see all the time. I speak to a lot of property owners. A lot of them, they do not have a life insurance on the property. They do not have a critical illness cover on the property. Now, what this essentially means is that were you to pass within the mortgage period of the property you own, the insurer would pay out a lump sum amount of money to the family so they can clear off the mortgage that's on that property. And what does that mean? Again, that's a bit of a light bulb moment. It means that the family would inherit the property mortgage free. And if you are in this for long term, the idea is we're passing down these properties to our future generations. And with buy to lets, of course, when we start running down the term, it then becomes slightly difficult to just sort of remortgage it again and things of that nature. And what's one of the worst situations is if the one of the main players or the mortgage owner or whatever it is passes away unexpectedly. A life insurance provides you with instant cash to be able to clear off that mortgage and own the property outright. Same with a critical illness cover. If you suffer the likes of cancer, stroke, heart attack, if you've insured yourself against the property, residential, buy to let, whatever it is, will pay you money to clear off that mortgage, tax-free money as well, so that your family can inherit the properties without any mortgage on them whatsoever at all. This is how we start to talk about real generational wealth and things of that nature. We become mortgage free, debt free, all that kind of stuff just through basic insurance policies. I do have a lot of clients who have had these policies and have seen payouts from them successfully. And I've seen the rewards that they've seen, and it's been amazing. But I also see a lot of people who don't have this stuff. I'm thinking it's a little bit sort of, you know, a gamble in a way to protect yourself against these assets that you've worked so hard for, and yeah, let's face it, anything can happen at any time. So it's very important to make sure that we insure ourselves against our assets. And of course, the cost of it is not as much as you think. It generally isn't, but the importance of it is extremely important. So again, these are things that I give advice on. If you are a property owner, if you own properties, if you do not have life insurances on them or critical illnesses on them, this is something I'm happy to discuss with you and teach you, the importance about it and what part it can play in being a very important tool in your portfolio. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I hope it's been informative. Like the quote says at the bottom, a journey of 1,000 miles. It all begins with a single step.